Every summer, I walk my land in Willow Hollow, Tennessee, just as the cicadas start their chorus. Been doing it since I was a kid, barely tall enough to see over the sorghum stalks. The earth changes a little each year. Erosion carves new paths. Oaks drop limbs. Fox tracks weave tales of nights I'll never witness. But last June, something wasn't right. I spotted tire marks, not the faint grooves from my old Ford or a stray hunter's quad. These were bold, wide, like a statement carved into the dirt. I followed them, my boots sinking into the soft clay, until I reached the cedar grove on the West Hill. There it was, a ribbon of fresh asphalt, gleaming under the noon sun like a venomous snake. I stood there, dumbstruck. A paved road slashed across my Perpertomy family's land, bought by my granddad in '62, when my dad used to roam with a shotgun to scare off poachers. I checked the old survey map, creased and yellowed from years, in a drawer. No mistake. That road cut 90 yards into my turf. My blood boiled. It led straight to a housing development called Meadow View, a cookie-cutter sprawl of taupe, siding, and fake shutters. Used to be open fields a decade back. Now it's a maze of cul-de-sacs and nosy neighbors. I called the county office. A nervous clerk stammered through records and confirmed my gut. No permits, no easements, no legal trace of this road. On paper, it didn't exist, but there it was, mocking me. I drove to Meadow View, feeling like I'd stepped into a plastic diorama. Perfect lawns, matching mailboxes, kids on bikes with helmets swallowing their skulls. The HOA office looked like a yoga studio, all glass and soft lighting. Inside, I met a guy named Ethan, slick as a car salesman, with a grin that screamed, "I've never touched a shovel." He leaned back in his chair. "Mr. Harlan, I get why you're upset, but this road's part of an emergency access easement. Fire trucks, ambulances, public safety. Your land's not fenced, so we figured you were fine with it." "Figured?" I leaned in, voice low. "Nobody figures anything on my property." Ethan droned on about community needs and cooperation, but I was done. I stopped at the hardware store, grabbed no trespassing signs, neon orange cones, and a pile of concrete blocks. Back home, I hammered the signs into the ground every 40 feet and stacked the blocks across the asphalt. It looked like a war zone, but it screamed one thing: this is mine. That night, I sat on my deck with a whiskey, the fireflies blinking like warning lights. I knew I'd just lit a fuse. 2 days later, a guy in a crisp suit pulled up in a sleek sedan, handed me a thick envelope, and left without a word. Inside was a lawsuit from the Meadow View HOA. I was jeopardizing public safety by blocking their so-called emergency route. They wanted my barricade gone, a permanent easement granted, and a court order to stop my aggressive actions. Aggressive? I was defending my land. The words burned into my brain. That night, I paced my cabin, the complaints spread across the table like a battle map. Terms like public endangerment and non-compliance with CI/VYC progress made me sound like a VY lane. Meanwhile, not one fire truck had touched that road. I called a lawyer, Clara Hensley, a no-nonsense woman who could smell bullshit through a phone line. She met me at her office, flipping through my deed, survey maps, and my dad's hand-drawn boundary sketch. "They've got no legal ground," she said, her eyes narrowing. "But they've got cash. That buys delays and dirty tricks." Great. Then it got uglier. One morning, I caught a guy with a tablet snapping photos of my barricade. When I demanded answers, he handed me a glossy Meadow View newsletter. Headline: "Local recluse blocks vital community lifeline." They'd spun me as a cranky hermit, a threat to families. Whispers followed: meet the diner, the post office, even the auto shop. "Heard you're causing trouble, Nate," my mechanic said with a smirk. Someone was poisoning the town against me. Then came the gut punch. While checking my signs, I found a plastic sleeve wedged in a rock pile. Inside, a notarized document with my name, granting Meadow View a permanent easement. Dated, stamped, signed. Except I'd never signed it. The signature was closed too close. Someone had practiced. I sat on the dirt, the paper trembling in my hands. This wasn't just a land grab. It was personal. They'd forged my identity. Clara was Lee VYD when I showed her. "We're getting a handwriting expert. This is fraud." I barely slept that night. My woods, once my refuge, felt like a trap. The worst day started calm, the air thick with honeysuckle. I was sipping coffee, hoping the court would see through the forgery. Then I heard engines. From a hill, I saw 3 SUVs and a pickup with a Meadow View logo roll up to my barricade. Out stepped Vive VY and Price, the HOA president, in a sharp blazer and boots that screamed city. She was flanked by 2 board members and a nervous guy clutching a clipboard. Vive VY stood at my blocks like a general eyeing a fortress. I approached slow like stalking a coyote. "You're trespassing," I said, voice flat. Her smile was pure venom. "Mr. Harlan, I'm GIVYing you one last chance to play nice before this gets messy." I almost laughed. "You forged my name, paved my land, and now you're lecturing me?" The clipboard guy piped up, muttering about evaluating obstructions per safety codes. I cut him off. "This isn't your land. Leave." Vive VY stepped closer, her voice a hiss. "You're a relic, Nathan, clinging to dirt while the world moves on. This is progress. You don't own tomorrow." My jaw clenched. "Maybe not, but I own this." She snapped orders to her crew, who started climbing my barricade. I blocked their path. 60 seconds, or I call the sheriff. Vive VY smirked. "He won't touch us. We filed complaints. You're a threat to 200 families. And trust me, Nathan, I know about your late mortgage payments. One bad ruling, and this land's ours." I didn't flinch. I dialed the sheriff, loud enough for her to hear. Her smile wavered. She waved her team back, and they peeled out, one guy flipping me off. I sat on a stump, heart pounding. Vive VY had shown her cards, forged documents, lawsuits, and now threats to bankrupt me. This was war. Then it escalated. One dawn, a low rumble shook my cabin. Not thunder machines. I grabbed my binoculars and saw 2 backhoes, a bulldozer, and a flatbed with pipes, crawling toward my creek. The same creek my dad dammed in '75, where herons nested and catfish thrived. They were trenching its feeder stream. I sprinted, boots pounding, rage choking me. A worker in a vest waved the machines on. "What the hell is this?" I yelled. He flinched. "Utility access, sir. Approved by Vive VY and Price." I stepped in front of the bulldozer, snapping photos, dialing the sheriff. Nobody moves. The driver hesitated, but the trench was already deep. Black water oozed like a wound. By the time a deputy arrived, the creek was dying. By morning, catfish floated, lifeless. I stood on the bank, fists balled, eyes stinging. They'd killed something sacred. I called Clara. "File the suit. I don't care what it costs." She paused. "Damn right." Days later, she slid a folder across my table like it was a grenade. Inside, invoices, a project schedule, and an email from Vive VY. No permits needed. Harlan's land is unfenced. Push through fast. Her signature was on it. Then came the handwriting analysis. Pro VYing the easement was forged. A worker named Miguel called next, voice shaky. He'd graded the road years back, told it was HOA land. Vive VY ran everything, he said. She laughed about burying you in red tape. He'd testify if needed. Then Clara got HOA budgets, showing money funneled through a fake contractor. Fraud, plain as day. The courtroom smelled of wax and tension. I wore my dad's old jacket, sitting beside Clara as she laid out our case like a hunter skinning a deer. Maps, deeds, photos of the road. The forged easement glowed on a screen. My fake signature exposed by an expert who'd worked FBI cases. "Nathan Harlan did not sign this," he said. The room gasped. Miguel testified, recounting Vive VY's orders to ignore my rights. An accountant traced HOA funds to a ghost company. Then the VY Deo, machines ripping my creek, Vive VY laughing. Clara froze the frame on her smirk. The jury's faces hardened. Vive VY took the stand, cool at first, but Clara carved her apart. "Did you forge Mr. Harlan's signature?" "No." "Did you build on land you knew wasn't yours?" "I thought it was approved." "By a developer that vanished?" Vive VY stammered, blamed her board, called me a loner. Nobody bought it. The jury ruled for me. The HOA had to rip out the road, restore the creek, and pay due law $400,000 for damages and fees. Vive Wine was fined Dula 100,000, got 3 years probation for fraud, and was banned from HOA roles. The HOA lost its charter for 2 years, now under state control. The road's gone now. Ferns are creeping back. I watched the county replant the creek bank, my drones overhead, capturing every step. Those drones? My new eyes. Solar-powered, thermal-equipped, they patrol my land. I posted a video of the trench, the forgery, Vivian's courtroom collapse. Titled it, "This is Why We Fight." It blew up online. Strangers emailed farmers, students, one kid who wants to be a lawyer to stop people like Vivian. I answer them all. New signs, steel and bolted, mark my borders, private land. Trespass, and the drones see you first. Nathan Harlan, owner. Some neighbors apologized, bringing casseroles that tasted like regret. I opened my land for a 4th of July party grilled catfish, kids splashing, illegal fireworks lighting the sky. The new state overseer, a woman with a wry grin, said, "They called this a war zone. Looks like paradise now." I smiled. That's what happens when you let the land breathe. As the sun set, I looked over the crowd, alive and loud on ground they tried to steal. It's mine, louder than ever. But here's where it gets messy. Was I right to block that road, knowing it could have delayed an ambulance one day? Should I have negotiated instead of escalating? Was Vivian a VY lane, or just a cog in a broken system? And what about the families who believe her liesto? They deserve the fallout. Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe. Let's keep this fight alive.